Not good news for Labour this morning. Apparently, they've slumped into third place. That's according to a recent voting intentions poll. They trail the Conservatives, and here's the really sharp bit. For the first time, they're trailing Nigel Farage's Reform UK.
It comes, of course, after the Prime Minister's milestone speech appears to have created more confusion than clarity about the new government's priorities. So let's speak to the senior Cabinet Minister, Pat McFadden, who joins us now from Westminster. Very good morning to you.
Morning.
Has it all been a little bit vague? I mean, you now see coming up on the inside Reform UK, lots of people, political commentators, wondering whether you failed to grasp the nettle in the milestones, the big sort of unspoken elephant in the room, which is the issue Reform capitalise on, immigration. Why is the Labour Party not grasping that issue, making it sort of front and centre, perhaps dealing with it positively, but certainly dealing with it?
Well, we set out a plan last week covering a number of things, and immigration was certainly one of them. It's in the plan. We want to get net migration down. The situation we inherited was a net migration figure of almost 1 million from the Conservatives. And you remember that's after a promise to reduce it to the tens of thousands. And the important thing now is, having set out the plan, is to get on and implement it. And I'm talking today in a speech later this morning about how the state needs to learn more from some of the great technological innovations we've seen in recent years in companies like Airbnb or Spotify or WhatsApp that have changed the way we live, and to bring some of that creative thinking into government so that we get the best value for money for the taxpayer and the best outcomes for citizens. We can't have all this great change in the private world and the state just carrying on doing what it's always done. We've got to get some change
so a new way of working in the public sector. But
well.
Sorry, can I interrupt? Because you say it's part of the plan, but I'm looking at the milestones. You said immigration is central. The milestones are higher disposable income, 1.5 million new homes in England, 92% of patients in England waiting 18 weeks or less for treatment, 13,000 new police officers, 75% of 5-year-olds in England ready to learn, and 95% clean power by 2030. Where's the grasping of the immigration nettle?
It's on page 18 and 19 of the plan.
Ooh.
OK, people have got get quite a long way through then, haven't they?
It's also on one of the first few pages as well. It's right there.
Why didn't you make it a measurable milestone?
Why isn't it a milestone, Minister? Why isn't it a milestone?
The history of attaching a precise number is not a very happy one in the UK, is it? This is what the Tories did. They told people they'd get net migration down to the tens of thousands, and then we ended up with net migration not just a little bit more than that, but almost 10 times more than that.
How do you measure it then? If you don't put a target on it, how do you measure it?
Well, the actual number will always ebb and flow depending on the needs of your economy. And by the way, I want to say to people who've come and who've worked hard here that they're important to the economy, they're important to society, but the actual numbers every year will depend on the ebb and flow of your economic needs. And alongside migration, of course, you've got to do more to train your own people to do the jobs, get more people off welfare and into work. We haven't done enough of that in Britain in recent years. That's why my colleague Liz Kendall, for example, produced a paper last week saying we've got to get more long-term sick people off benefits and into work. And if we do that, we'll have less need for migration in the future.
But to stick with the question of migration, I suppose the fundamental question is, are you failing to listen to the people? You've seen the results of the election across the pond in America. You see now this morning in the polls Reform, who make immigration first and foremost their lead policy, and you see them overtaking you in the polls. You don't seem to be listening to the mood in the country.
Well, we've always got to listen to the mood in the country, and we've been elected for 5 years, and we've set out a number of things there in that plan that you're talking about that we want to deliver. And it's important that we do get on and deliver, because there will be plenty of voices out there who want to make people angry about this or that, but a government's job is actually to deliver for people. That's what we want to do. That's why we set out the plan last Thursday. And part 2 of that is making sure that we reform the state, we get it to work better, we get it to use new technology better, that we break down some of the old hierarchical systems that we've had in government, and we match good people with good systems so that we get good outcomes for people. And that's what I'm talking about in a speech this morning.
All right, Pat McFadden, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. The Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.